Hello everyone, and welcome to another News Coolum video. So I had a chance to go to the LA Auto Show. Like I said, I tried to check out most of what was on the floor, but they only have one day open to the press, so it's sort of a mad scramble to get around to see everything. But just overall a productive trip. Got to go out to the Anacapa Islands, go fishing a little bit, so that was nice. All the things that I like to do here in Southern California. So it's just a nice little breakaway, but I'm gonna start heading back now. I just don't know if I'm heading back directly. So today is Saturday, so I actually don't have to be back home until, well, technically Monday, right, for work. But I don't know if I'm going to try to make it all the way home today, or if I'm just going to sort of continue to goof around in Southern California and maybe find another place to stay somewhere located nearby. One thing that's interesting is we are getting hit with Santa Ana winds now. And if I am driving east, I could be hitting, up to 70, 75 mile an hour gusts. So that can impact traffic and then, of course, driving efficiency. So we'll see. I don't have any definite plans for today. For now, this will probably just be run around Southern California, check out some charging sites, see what's going on, see what's changed in the couple of years since I've been living down here, right? So I'm expecting to see a lot of growth and a lot of expansion, and in like the charging infrastructure and charging options and things like that. And I still have to I feel like I still have to get the legs underneath my Bolt EV. It seems like it's not fully charging past 60 kilowatt hour right now, so I might have to sort of force the issue by just plugging in and charging past 100%, and I might have to do it on a DC fast charger. So I can't tell you what to expect from this trip because I don't know what to expect from this trip, but I'm going to go ahead and check out of my room now and get ready to hit the road. Alright, so I wanted to stop by here in Thousand Oaks. We're just off of Wendy Drive, which is kind of right near the top of Conejo Pass. So for those of you who know the area, it's sort of the western side of Thousand Oaks on Highway 101. I wanted to stop here because a member of our local electric vehicle advocacy group kind of posted something up. I guess they had run across this site just coming here to use this location. And this is an upcoming EVgo site. It looks like they're Ultium ready, GM funded sites, but it also looks like it's kind of an older design. So I say that because EVgo is primarily moving toward using those split power 350 kilowatt Delta chargers as their sort of high powered charger of choice. This one is still built with the Gen 2, I'll call them, Signet DC fast chargers, which are still capable, competent 350 kilowatt chargers. The only difference is they can't really split power. And then, of course, also part of this site design too is it is CCS and CHAdeMO heads on each of the chargers. Now, one of the criticisms, of course, is that the Delta chargers can split power. So ideally, you would want 2 parking spaces dedicated to each Delta charger, the ones that can split power. Now, EVgo, it looks like it is doing that for sure for their 350 kilowatt chargers. They're basically ensuring that those have 2 parking stalls, which is maybe more important than having 2 stalls for each of the 100 kilowatt, but it would still be nice to have that option. Just sort of in case of overflow, you can turn a charging site with 8 chargers like this one into 16 active stalls if necessary, right? Which is a lot of EVs to be charging at any one time, and frankly is probably bigger than what most public charging sites need to be at this point, given the number of charging sites that there are, how well distributed there are. Once you get past about 12 chargers per site, you should really be looking to add another site nearby rather than trying to just keep building a bigger and bigger site, because there's diminishing returns, in my opinion, after about 12 chargers, and especially after about 16 to 20 active stalls. One of the big things that I wanted to call out about this site, though, is, and EVgo has been good about this, even though it's been sort of understated, but they're, in my opinion, probably the best charging provider in terms of overall site layout. Before anybody else, they were the ones installing chargers that would allow access, basically a lot of times from all four directions, but also in particular supporting access to cars that were towing, or EVs that were towing, because they were offering full pull-through parking, something that Tesla has taken a long time to adopt themselves. In fact, I know a few Tesla owners who, when they would road trip and travel with the trailer, they would actually emphasize certain public charging sites because the access was so much easier if you're towing a trailer. So EVgo has been kind of at the forefront of that from the very beginning, where it's not really a sanctioned pull-through site, or it's not a dedicated pull-through stall, but they don't put a stanchion in the way, so you can just pull your trailer all the way through, and you're not blocking multiple parking spaces other than the 2 parking stalls that you would have occupied anyway with a truck and a trailer, or a car and a trailer. So I just wanted to kind of call out this site because it's a really great location right off the freeway, maybe better southbound than northbound, actually, just the way it plays out. But either way, there's a lot of amenities here. There's food, different restaurant choices, a few different, there's even like a O'Reilly's auto parts store. If something ever goes wrong with an EV, you can always repair it, pick up parts or whatever for your gas car. So, all right, well, anyway, I'm going to get back on the road. Still don't have a plan, but I'm just heading east. All right, well, that was interesting for 2 reasons. So I came here to Ontario Mills because, if I'm heading up toward like Baker, 215 up toward Barstow and Baker, I needed to charge up here. I had a few different places I could have charged, like El Monte, places like that, the Shell recharge station that I had stopped at before. But this was just one of the more convenient locations. So I show up, and basically, not only is the Electrify America charger completely full, it was completely full with overflow. Now, a lot of the vehicles there should have been able to charge quickly. There's a few Porsche Taycans. There are some, like an EV6. There are a number of vehicles that should have been out of there in no more than 15 to 20 minutes tops. But still, I didn't care at all about queuing up, and I know that there's an EVgo charger over here, so I came over here to check. Now, there were a couple of Nissan Leafs here, and I think one of the Nissan Leaf owners might have tried to end up just using the level 2 AC charger, because for whatever reason there was some sort of a connection initialization error on this ABB charger, and it looked on like it was applying to both the CCS and the CHAdeMO connector. But I thought, well, what the heck? I don't care if there's an error on the screen. I'm going to try auto charge first. So I plugged my car in, and sure enough, it was like, hey, cool, auto charge, we know you, and it started right up. Either way, we're plugged in, we're charging. The one thing I don't like about this EVgo station, though, is it's not well located at Ontario Mills. So if you want to go someplace or do something, it's going to take a lot of walking. But I guess that's fine when it's a 50 kilowatt charger. You plan to be here for 30 to 40 minutes minimum anyway. So yeah, I might just run in and see if I can grab something from the store. Use the bathroom really quick before we head up the mountains into what should be, I guess, a lot less busy charging places, I guess. We'll see. We've been charging for just over 20 minutes, I think maybe 25 minutes now. I actually ran in, used the bathroom, and came straight back out to the car. I need to stop at the Walmart in Hesperia anyway. And we should have plenty of juice to get there without issue. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave now. We haven't even really hit 50% battery yet. And I'll swing by the Electrify America charger as we go out. So I think people can see this is just a normal utility stop that you would make when traveling anyway. And so I think it's maybe a good idea to see how many of those cars cleared out from the Electrify America charger. And again, though, I think this is another reason why I think people shouldn't be too harsh on Chevrolet Bolt EV owners, because if they're traveling like I do on a faster charger, we would already be well over 55% right now, probably close to that 60% cutoff where I recommend Bolt EV owners leave anyway. So judging by that, you can kind of see how the Bolt EV would have worked if it would have been using one of the higher power charging stations. So anyway, I think, yeah, we should just get ready to head out because, like I said, I need to pick up some stuff from Walmart, and then I'd like to have lunch around noonish. I don't know if that's going to be possible. So let's go. All right, so that's pretty cool. Basically, all the cars that we saw waiting here when we headed over to the EVgo, they're already charging now, and in fact a few stalls have opened up. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This will actually cycle through pretty fast. Like I said, that was a total of 25 minutes that we were at that charger, so probably a total of 30 minutes by the time you count for driving over there, plugging in, driving back, and they already cleared through the entire queue, and now it's back to open stalls again. So yeah, I mean, I think it looks bad when you hit a charger that's full, but when they clear up that quickly, it's not too bad, right? As long as people are being respectful and everything else. And like I said, if I would have been one of the cars here, I would have already been gone by now too. So just something to keep in mind for those who are critical of something like the Bolt EV. Yeah, it doesn't charge fast, but it also doesn't have a big battery either. So just like a Spark EV would be in and out of that stall in 20 minutes, beating a lot of the cars that are plugged in and charging there. So just be mindful that just because it charges slow doesn't mean that it charges for a long time. But, you know, that's that, and we got to hit the road. So let's go. All right, so again, an interesting little circumstance. I forgot with this Hesperia Walmart where the 350 kilowatt chargers are located, and for whatever reason, maybe it has to do with like the Porsche Taycan, I'm not sure, but for whatever reason, Electrify America ideally places 350 kilowatt chargers where the Chevrolet Bolt EV would want them to be, which is kind of a problem, I think, especially with like the e-GIMP cars and things like that with the passenger side rear. Anyway, this charger filled up really quickly. That Rivian, I don't know if they made a wrong turn, but I think they were trying to get here anyway, that we were following in. And I think they just made a wrong turn to get into the chargers. But I got my stuff, got in and out. We're almost up to 50% again, though. was longer in the store than I expected it to be. But yeah, let's just take a loop around again. I'll put the charger here on my GoPro and just kind of show you just how busy it is. A Lucid, I think, was pulling into the 350 kilowatt charger as I was leaving. So, but the other thing is, a lot of people don't seem to realize that there's 2 more chargers in front of the store. But as it is, I still want to go grab lunch, and I didn't even break down my ice to actually get it, into the ice chest. So I'll have to do all of that in a minute. But yeah, I didn't want to just sit there and clog up the chargers while people are waiting. And I actually really didn't need to charge that badly anyway, just enough to get into Victorville where I'm planning to have lunch. So yeah, let's just loop around and hit the road. All right, folks, I think an intervention is in order. People are getting way too fixated on particular charging providers and particular charging locations, I feel like. So Electrify America, I think, is probably the grossest example of this right now. With the public charging infrastructure. I mean, to be fair, Tesla kind of set that model with the superchargers, because if you ask me, like, my top 5 biggest complaints about the Tesla superchargers, that might be one of them, is that Tesla owners in large part became, I feel like, mostly ignorant about the charging provider, the public charging providers that were acting as an alternative option for them. So, I mean, I think that's improved recently and actually pretty quickly. I'm surprised to say. But that being said, it still was a problem. And now I would say the grossest offender at this point is Electrify America, where Electrify America for most EV owners is synonymous with the public charging infrastructure, even though it represents far less than half of the public charging infrastructure that's been deployed, right? Maybe only a quarter. If you go by site count, certainly. If you go by chargers, yeah, still maybe only a quarter to at most a third of all public chargers that are deployed right now are Electrify America. Yet I would say Electrify America might be seeing about 90% of the use. And yeah, it's crazy to think that, but it's what I'm observing as well. And this is the second time that I've pulled into a charging location that's been full and drove less than a block away to a completely open charger. So, I mean, with the EVgo one, okay, maybe there was an error on the screen. Maybe the Leaf that was there before couldn't charge, and that was something else. But there was still an open charger when I arrived, and there was an open charger here in, Victorville, basically a block away. And meanwhile, I know what the charger in the Electrify America charger in Hesperia looked like. And then, of course, the EVgo charger here, the level 2 charger, and both 50 kilowatt chargers were taken, and there was a Bolt EV owner sitting in their car waiting. That Bolt EV owner had no reason to be sitting there in a parking lot waiting for a charger to open up when they were literally a block away from this one. So I think that's kind of crazy. And then, of course, I speaking of getting fixated, I forgot to mention this. So it looks like I was right. I thought there was a hint. I mentioned this in the LA Auto Show review video. I thought there was a hint that Toyota might be looking to partner with EVgo as their public charging network provider of choice in the United States. Well, I think Subaru just kind of let the cat out of the bag, because they already announced a deal for Solterra buyers on the EVgo network. So we really are starting to see this play out, where all of the German automakers and a couple of the American automakers are working with Electrify America. And then the Japanese automakers and GM and are working with EVgo. And so you're probably going to see this where 90% of the cars that are using any of those given sites are going to be from those respective automakers, which I don't think is necessarily a good thing or a healthy thing, but it is a thing, I guess. Whereas I sort of pride myself in trying to be open with all of the public charging options that are available and not kind of painting myself into a corner and preferring one or over the other. I'm really looking forward to the fact that Rivian is probably going to have to open up their network. It just makes so much financial sense. They're already using the CCS standard, and those NEVI funds are rolling in. They're already building the network anyway. There's no reason not to cash in on those federal funds and simply open up the network to let everybody use it, and then it's a win-win-win, really. So what I have noticed in the charging sites being full is, I think, representative of the fact that this is the weekend before Thanksgiving week. And so I think a lot of people are on the road, and it's kind of making me want to maybe start making my way home earlier. But I feel like we're already so far into the day that I'm probably going to want to stop and spend the night anyway. So I don't necessarily want to come in at like 2 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday morning, right? So I would rather probably spend the night somewhere and then make it a leisurely, nice drive in. All right, well, I think we just need to hit the road. And so stop being picky about your chargers. Let's go. We arrived in Baker. I wasn't worried about making it. We charged actually for too long in Victorville, really. Well, we plugged in around 25%. Yeah, it went right up to 50 plus kilowatts. So I don't know if this is the location where I want to try to push the car to 100% though, because I definitely feel like I need to get the DC charge up to 100%, or at least I need to charge up to 100% on a DC charger and have it try to push that capacity further. But I also don't necessarily need to do it just here. One of the cool things about Baker, California, in addition to being sort of a halfway point or really a good fueling stop for people heading into Vegas or out of Vegas back into Southern California, it's a small town and it has 3 public DC fast chargers as well as a Tesla supercharger. So per capita, it might have one of the highest DC charging counts of any town maybe in the world. There are 3 active public charging sites that I could use here if I wanted to. Just driving up and down the strip here in Baker, I could visit 3 different charging sites, DC charging sites. So it's really not going to be an issue to find a place to just park and charge up to 100% on a DC fast charger. In fact, there's a Tesla, I think Model Y owner over there who's trying to use the Electrify America 350 kilowatt chargers using the adapter, which I'm not sure why you would do that over using the superchargers, because it's still technically like V2.5 charging speeds, not a full V3, because the amperage on CCS is lower than the amperage that Tesla is pushing through their NACS plug. But anyway, this is a site too that I've been to a number of times, but I haven't actually had the chance to do a formal site review. So while I'm here, charging up way past what would typically be required, I think I'm going to take the time to do a full formal site review. All right, so that was a pretty lengthy charging site review, but I was able to walk around, get a decent amount of B-roll, take some pictures of some different vehicles. A lot of different cars are coming through here charging. Now, one thing I was going to note, though, is I'm watching a little bit, as I can, the battery charging for my Bolt EV, because like I said, I mentioned that I haven't charged it, or I don't feel like it's gotten to full yet. And right now we're at 90% and it's only pulling 18 kilowatt. And the reason I say only is because when I reviewed the 2020 Chevrolet Bolt EV, it was still pulling 20 kilowatt at 90 or past 90%. I don't know, like I said, I feel like there's still a little bit of learning left for the Bolt EV, getting this new pack in. I'm not to the point that I feel confident about being able to do a capacity test, right? Until I learn more about whether the Bolt EV is even calculating it right. So we'll see. So I think I'm just going to keep charging right now and seeing what the Bolt EV does. All right, first, don't judge me. We're at 100% and we're charging at 14 kilowatts according to the station, and we're charging at 16 kilowatt according to the car. So I'm not sure what the discrepancy is there, but we still haven't reset the energy usage screen. So let me turn this around. So here we are, still charging at 16 kilowatt, and looking at the charger, we're at 100%. So, but then I one thing that got me thinking is, I think that is 25% that we started at. It added 39 kilowatt hours. Well, in order to have a 65-ish kilowatt hour capacity, 75% should represent about 48 kilowatt hours. So we're like 10 kilowatt hours short. This is, I think, that behavior that another Bolt EV owner had mentioned to me that they saw, is that it's continuing to charge even though the charger says it's 100% complete. Now, I wasn't able to get it to do this with level 2 AC. So it seems like this is really only something that can be done with DC fast charging. Right now, it's still charging. Obviously, the Bolt EV should not be accepting 14 to 16 kilowatt, whichever one is actually accurate, at 100% battery. But then also, 38 kilowatt hours or 39 kilowatt hours should not represent 75% of the car's capacity. So, based on what I've seen of the previous charging curve, right, you'd still be pulling 16 kilowatt at about 95%. But I feel like that's still wrong, right? So I think we might actually only be at a true 90% of the new battery's capacity. So I was wanting to maybe see if it would reset the energy used screen, but it did not. So I don't know if I'm going to stick around to wait for it to do that. Otherwise, like I said, I still like the idea of maybe just cruising up and down Baker and hitting all 3 public charging sites and then seeing what that does to the overall capacity and charging. Because right now, I think we still have a ways to go to full. All right, so we finally hit 100%, or at least the energy detail screen reset, which, as far as the car is concerned, means we're at 100%. It was charging at like 3 kilowatt up until the very end. So it did only show about 47 kilowatt hours dispensed. So I'm not sure in terms of if we arrived with 25%, was that rounded, whatever, because That would still be a little bit lower than I was expecting for a 75% of the total capacity. So we could be looking at only about 64 kilowatt hours usable if that's the case. But again, that's why I'm going to do some capacity tests and driving tests and things like that. But also, like I said, we're in Baker where there are 3 different public charging sites. So I did the bulk of the charging here at Electrify America. Don't need to worry about blocking people out of chargers with 12 stalls. So, and then plus when you're paying by kilowatt hour, that's just the cheapest way to pay. So, yeah, I'm going to now head down. I think I want to drive all the way down to the charge point. Yeah, let's get ready to head out. All right, so bummer, no Tritium RT50, but wow, what the heck is going on in Baker? So this site, the last time I visited it, was 4 50 kilowatt Tritium units, no covering, no lighting, no trash cans, just 4 chargers in the back of a lot. I show up now, and they've been replaced with 4 ChargePoint CPE 250 chargers with this full-on solar canopy, lighting in the solar canopy. The level 2 chargers are still here. This is crazy. Like the only nitpick that immediately jumps out to mind is if they were going to put the CPEs in here, I really wish they would have paired them. So these right now are the 62.5 kilowatts. So like I said, I think it's 156 amp. Can max out the Bolt EV and a lot of these other smaller battery EVs, and then even things like the Kona Electric and the Kia Niro EV. It can push them to probably 85-90% of their max charging power. So like these are really good chargers for the smaller, efficient EVs on the road, right? The ones that aren't going to be towing, so it can just be nose in parking. And then if you paired them, it just makes it so much better of a charging site for some of like the 800 volt cars, things like that could end up pulling, like I did the Kia EV6 was pulling over 110, 115 kilowatt on these paired CPE 250s. So the fact that they're only standalone leaves a little bit of room for improvement, but goodness, this site is so much better than it was when I first visited. Now, the other thing is too, plugged in, we only used half a kilowatt hour getting here. So we didn't really, from 100%, we really didn't use that much energy. Now, when I plugged in, it immediately jumped up. It was charging pretty consistently at about 7 kilowatt. Now, it still registered as 100%. The battery was still at 100%. But jumping up to 7 kilowatt like that indicates to me that it thought it lost more than that. And in fact, it's already dispensed more than that half a kilowatt hour that we apparently used on the drive over here. So it probably won't charge much longer than this, but it seems pretty apparent that there was still more capacity left to add to this battery. So this will be interesting when I leave this charger and then head back to the EVgo in Baker, which is, about 1.5 miles away from here, and then plug in there and just see what happens with, I don't know if I should use a higher power charger or one of their 50 kilowatt chargers, and then just see what happens there when I do this again, because right now we've already added more energy back than the energy detail screen said that we used. So in fact, maybe I want to turn the car on now just to see. So yeah, the energy detail screen still hasn't reset yet. So we've used, according to this, 0.5 kilowatt hour, and then if you look at the display, okay, it just ended, but we added 0.75 kilowatt hours. So maybe some of that was losses, but it was enough to reset the energy screen. So they said we were here for 9 minutes charging. That's interesting. So it didn't seem like that long. This site is amazing. And then the amenities here as well. Jeez, if it weren't for the other sites in this location in Baker being so good, this would be a A+ site in most other places. So good job, ChargePoint. All right, so unfortunately, it looks like only one of their faster than 50 kilowatt chargers in Baker is working. Ollie looks like it could be working, but auto charge is not working with it. But again, this is the same thing. We plugged in and immediately ramped up power, and it's already delivered more power than the energy detail screen says that we used. So, I mean, if this kind of keeps going, I don't know how many of these sessions it will actually take to push it up, but one thing I also noted is, just based on what I saw, the regenerative braking of power available doesn't seem to match. So again, though, it looks like we just reset. This one was only a 4-minute charging session. Energy usage screen has been reset now. So yeah, I mean, I guess at this point I'm confident enough that we can start doing our capacity testing, but I just need to figure out for today. It's already been a long day. So what I think I'm going to do is start looking for hotels or motels on the way back. Who knows where I end up. Okay, so I decided to just start heading up Highway 395 as the trip home. Oh, odd, my seat heater came on automatically. So we made it here with 2% battery. I mean, it's only 178 miles from Baker, but you're looking at several thousand feet of elevation increase, and it is 32 degrees up here at this point. But, and that kind of leads me to my statement that I believe that reduced charging power is due to the battery percentage, not necessarily the temperature. So we're already up to 7% now. We started at 2%, but we've been charging at 45 kilowatt instead of the 50 plus kilowatt that we would normally see. I mean, it is possible this was a complimentary session on Electrify America, so it's possible that this station itself is reduced power in some way. But what I might let it do is charge to about 10 to 15%, see if it comes up to 50 kilowatt on its own. And if it doesn't, I'm going to restart the charge. I know when I plugged in at 9%, it went straight up to almost 50 kilowatts. So I think this could actually be something in the programming, because yeah, it is 32 degrees, but we've been driving the entire time, and the battery should never have cooled down over the course of that drive, even though it's now 32 degrees. And I think the Bolt EV still hasn't learned its new capacity yet. And so I'm wondering if this efficiency rate maybe isn't correct. So right now it's saying, we arrived with 2% battery at 52.8 kilowatt hours. Now, if you do the total capacity for that leaves it with a total estimated capacity of 53.9 kilowatt hours, which is way lower than it should be with the replaced battery. And in fact, it's basically the same capacity as I had previously. Now, I know this is a new pack just because of the way, it's been behaving differently. The average driving range has increased even when it doesn't agree with what's on the display. So yeah, we'll put this down as an initial data point. So I know it took more power just based on how much it charged up. It should be a minimum of 60 kilowatt hours based on the number of charges to 100% that I did. So something with these numbers aren't right. We are spiking up to about 48 kilowatt. But again, that's lower than what I saw at 9% battery before. So it does look like it's recovering somewhat. I'd have to go back and look at Tom Malogny's logs from when he tested it. But I thought he did see something similar. So it does eventually catch up, just maybe not as fast as you would think it should. This is a complimentary session, so if I wanted to charge up to 100% again, this would be the charger to do it on. Unfortunately, though, I don't want to be here in the middle of nowhere with no services and, no amenities other than a rest stop in 32-degree weather, waiting for the Bolt EV to charge to 100 or past 100%, as it were. All right, well, a couple of updates. So in Coso Junction, I went ahead and charged to 80%. I didn't record it all on the main camera because the battery was going dead, but I just kind of caught some glimpses of what was going on. And, there's a couple of key points to take away from that is that session is that, yeah, I started at 2%, and there was definitely a reduced power charging curve. And I'm not exactly sure if it was all temperature, all battery percentage, or a combination of both. But it did persist, never really broke past 50 kilowatt. I left this session alone. I didn't try to restart it midway through to see if I could spike the power back up again. But what was interesting about it is it still took right around 61 minutes to go from 2% to 80%, which really isn't that far off of what I saw before, where it went from 9% to 80% in like 55 minutes. But even if it were actually 10% more capacity, so say 66 kilowatt hour instead of 60, that only adds 10% to the time. Really, maybe a little bit more depending on how the math breaks out. But you're talking about going from like 55 minutes to a little over 60, or from 60 minutes to maybe as much as like an hour and 10 minutes. And which is kind of in line with what I remember with some of the bigger battery packs from before, taking a little over an hour to go from essentially zero up to about 80%. So yeah, I'm seeing fairly consistent numbers, and they're significantly shorter by about 10 to 15, maybe as much as 20 minutes shorter than the numbers that Tom Malogny was recording on his State of Charge channel. So I'm not sure why there's a difference in what he's seeing in the Bolt EV and what I'm seeing. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Bolt EV is still not a fast charging car. But a lot of people, I think, feel like for 45 minutes to an hour, getting up to between 70 and 80% battery is adequate for most of their fast charging needs on trips. Now, I'm in Bishop now, and temperatures have dropped. It's down into the high 20s, low 30s right now. I checked into my room, but I'm here at the Electrify America charging site because if it's going to drop to sub-freezing and I don't have charging at my hotel, I want to charge up while the battery is still somewhat warm. Now, it looks like it almost doesn't matter because 2 of these chargers are down. The 150 CCS and the 50 kilowatt CHAdeMO are up, but the one that I'm on, the CCS one that I'm on, is actually operating at reduced power right now, so I'm still only getting 100 amp. One of the 350s is turned off completely, and the other one is errored out. So there are only 2 operating chargers at this site, and one of them is at reduced power. So I'm actually going to run and grab something to eat anyway, just kind of a late dinner. I got in late, into town late, and I'm just going to have a late dinner while this is charging up. Grab some dinner, and then we'll come back when I'm done, and I'll check to see what the damage is. All right, I grabbed a quick late night meal. Yeah, we're actually down to 28 degrees, and we're charging at 28 kilowatt. 28 on 28. All right, and we just hit 80% on this charge. I think, yeah, about 15 minutes earlier than the Bolt EV initially estimated. Which is funny given, this is a reduced speed charger right now. It is actually slowed. But what's also interesting about that is that's not too long off the time that it was taking to go from 9% to 80%. But that was on a faster charger. So maybe that math actually works out pretty close, right? That, it was 3 minutes faster, but you added 11% less. But the number that I was really more interested in too is how much energy was delivered. And it was 31.8, I believe, kilowatt hours, because if you look at that window, 20% to 80%, that represents 60% of the battery. So, and knowing that it's not, delivered power or delivered energy, it's not 100% efficient. Well, if you're saying that 31 or 32 kilowatt hour represents 60% of the capacity, that doesn't seem right. The amount of energy that it's displaying does not reflect the amount of energy that I would expect to be going into a pack with 60 plus kilowatt hours of energy capacity. So I will continue to gather data points and share them. So I hope this video is helpful and informative. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and thank you for watching.